In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure the home page widgets, both with or without an IDX. Um, if you went through our first video on installing the theme, you'll know that there's a WIE file included in the theme that you can import that will import all those widgets to be just like the demo, either with or without IDX. But we're going to go through all of these widget areas and how to set that up in case you want to set them up differently, or if you prefer to just configure them yourself. So here is the site that we're working with. Now we already imported that WIE file, so all those widgets are set up for a site with no IDX except for the slider area here. Now for a site with IDX, I'm going to change tabs here. This is the demo where we have the IDX Broker map widget. So we're going to start with that first, and we're going to go to the dashboard of our site, and we're going to go down to Appearance Widgets. And here's our available widget areas. We're going to be working with the Home Lead widget area, so I'm going to open that up. And you'll see right now our site doesn't have anything there. So the first thing we want to do is to drag a empty text widget to that area. Okay, so now we've got a blank text widget. Now we want to create that map widget in our IDX Broker dashboard. So I'm going to change tabs over to my dashboard. I'm already logged in. And the first thing I want to do is go to Designs, Widgets, and select Create. Now first we need to do is select the type of widget. I'm going to select a map search. And then under widget options, you want to select responsive no. The reason is the theme will make this map widget responsive, so you don't want to select responsive. So we're going to name this. I'm going to call it Home Page Map. You can select the default property type. It depends on what kind of listings you handle, whether you just do condos or rentals or commercial. I'm going to select single family. Now for width, we want this to be 1140. Height, we want to be 400. I'm not going to set low price or high price. Default type, I'm just going to leave that as road map, but you can select satellite or hybrid. Now we need to center the latitude and longitude. Okay, you want to kind of center your map, so you need to pick an address to use to center that latitude and longitude. So I'm going to pick an address that I've got. Let's see. I'm going to pick this street address. And, whoops. And the postal code. And I'm going to generate that map location to have that centered. Okay, now we have an option for map pin clustering. By default that's disabled, and it's a matter of personal preference whether you want the individual pins or whether you want the clustering like in this. In other words, this is 13 listings that are clustered in a little bubble. Or you can set that to display each one of the individual listing pins. So however you want that, I'm going to enable map pin clustering. And now you need to add the page link where that map's going to be. It uses the domain name that you have in your IDX Broker account. If you're trying to put it on a site with a different domain name, it won't work. You need to contact IDX Broker to have that changed to the domain name that you're using for the site. So the map won't work if you're trying to do it on a test site or a site with a temporary URL, like with WP Engine. So you have to have the final domain name on your home page for it to work properly. So we've got that already set up. Since it's going to be on the home page, we can just leave it at the default. We're not going to put it on an interior page. So then you just build a widget, and you will get two sets of code here. We're going to be using both sets of code. We're going to start with the one here at the bottom that has several scripts here. We're going to copy that. And now we're going to put that in our text widget. And then we're going to go back and copy the actual map code here. And put that in our widget. And then we're going to just save. Now let's go to the front of our site and reload. And you'll see now we have our map. Now, because I'm putting this on a test site for this video, it's a different URL than what this widget was built for. So you'll see it's not really working properly on this site. If you're not using IDX, we have included a slider plugin that you can use in place of this. So I'm going to go back to my widget. I'm going to remove this text widget. Let's put it down in inactive widgets. And I'm going to install that slider instead. Now your prime location zip file, if you go inside of it, if you extract it on your desktop, I'm going to go ahead and close this and go to prime location. You'll see there's a directory inside that prime location folder. It says plugins, and inside there is the Soliloquy plugin zip file and the license key. So we're going to install that on our site now. We're going to go to plugins, add new, and we're going to upload that plugin. I'm going to choose that file. Let's look for prime location here that I unzipped. There it is. Plugins. Select Soliloquy. And we're going to install it. And we're going to go ahead and activate it. Okay. Now, like I said, you also have a license key. You can copy and paste that under your Soliloquy settings here. You would just put in the license key and click Verify Key. And that will license your plugin for updates and support. Okay, now that we've installed it, we can create a new slider from scratch, but I would recommend importing one that we've included in your prime location folder. Let's add new for Soliloquy sliders. We're going to call this home page slider. Okay. And then we're going to click on miscellaneous. And under miscellaneous, you'll see an option here to import export slider. We're going to choose file, and we're going to go back to prime location and go to the folder that says XML, and inside there is that Soliloquy JSON file. We're going to select that, and we're going to import that slider. Even if you plan on replacing these slides, you'll see it has 4 slides here. Even if you plan on replacing this, I would recommend importing that JSON file so that you have all the configuration set. Under configuration, it gives you the slider dimensions that you need. It's 1140 by 450. The transition, whether you want to show the nav controls, and all those are set properly for the theme. Let's go back to miscellaneous, because when you import a slider, it gives it the title, imported slider number. So we're going to change that. I'm going to change that to home page slider and change the slug to, you don't have to do this, I just think it looks cleaner this way. Okay, once you've done that, go ahead and publish it. Now let's go back to our widget, our home lead, only now we're going to use the Soliloquy widget that was added as soon as we installed that Soliloquy plugin. Let's get this going up here. There we go. And we're going to select the only slider we have here, and we're going to save that. Now let's go back to the front of our site, and instead of having that map, now we've got a slider. So we've got a slider here with several images. And again, it's much easier if you import it and then you can go back and change those photos in your slider later. You just want to make sure that they're big enough to fit in that area. So you want something at least 1140 by 400 that you upload for those images. Okay, the next area we want to talk about is the home top. I'm going to open that up. Okay, we've got two widgets here that we set up on our demo. One is a text widget where we're using the column shortcode for some call to action, and we're using the equity featured listing scroller to feature those WP listings. This site we're not using IDX. If you're going to be using IDX, let me switch over to that one. You're going to have the same text widget with those call to action using the column and icon boxes, and instead of using the featured listing scroller, we're going to use the equity IDX property carousel. So if you're using the IDX, you give it a title of properties, select it to show featured properties, and you want to show 3 at one time, and then the maximum number of listings you want it to show, and select autoplay. So if we go back to this site, you'll see there it is here with our listings. These are the IDX listings. And on our site that we're working with here, these are our call to action buttons from that text widget. And here's the featured listing scroller pulling in those WP listings. So let's go back and look at that text widget. Now this text widget is using the column shortcodes and it's using the icon box shortcodes. Now rather than have to put these in individually, we recommend just going to the theme documentation. Let's go to Docs AE Themes. Okay, now in the theme documentation for Prime Location, you go to Home Page and scroll down for Home Top, and you will have all those shortcodes set up for you. You just copy and paste it into the text widget, and then you can go in and change the text and the URLs. It makes it much easier than trying to type it in individually. If you copy and paste, just make sure all these quotation marks are real quotation marks. Okay, so we've got this set up with those column and icon box shortcodes. For more information on the shortcodes that are available, again, you just go to the theme documentation, go to Equity Themes, Equity Framework, and we have a whole section on the shortcodes that are available, including the columns, the icon boxes. All the different parameters are available, or listed there. Okay, now for our equity featured listing scroller, if you're using that instead of the IDX, you just drag that featured listing scroller from here over into this home top widget area. You can give it a title, Properties. You want to select the image size of feature post 700 by 370. How many total results you want. I selected 6. We want to show 3 at a time, and we want to display by whatever taxonomy we've got set up. Now we can display whether it's just golf course properties, or whether it's rentals, or whatever. I've selected all the listings that I have with a status of active, and then you save that, and that will give you this on your home page. Okay, the next section is what's called the home middle. Now the home middle has a background image here that you can change in your customizer settings at Appearance Customize. It's styled for a text widget. In this case, we're using the testimonial shortcodes in a text widget, but you can use some other text. Maybe you just want to put in a welcome message. So let's go to that widget area here in our dashboard, home middle. Open that up, and you'll see there's just a text widget. It's using the testimonial shortcode. It's also using the button shortcode to link to the page for the testimonials, for the more testimonials. Again, if you go to the documentation, the code is there that you can just copy and paste for both the testimonial and for the buttons, so you don't have to type all that in. You just go in and change it to your own links and your own text. Okay, the next area is the home bottom. So let's go to the front of our site. In the home bottom, you'll see we have our featured communities, both on the site without IDX here, and also the one with IDX, where we got the featured communities. This is using a widget, let's close this, in the home bottom called the Equity Featured Page Carousel. Now you just drag it from the available widgets over here. We've given it a title, Our Communities, and then you put the page IDs for the pages you want displayed. Now there's two ways you can do that. Let's go to Pages, All Pages, and open that up in a new tab. And when you mouse over them, you will see at the very bottom left, if you can see at the very bottom left on your screen, where it says post equals and then a number. In this case it's 1140. That's the ID. That's an easy way to do it. If you're new to WordPress or you have trouble finding it this way, there is a plugin that will display them for you. So we're going to add that plugin. We're going to go to Plugins, Add New, and we're going to search for a plugin called Reveal ID. Okay, here's our plugin here, Reveal IDs. We're going to click Install now. And then we're going to activate this plugin. Okay, now let's go back to our list of pages, to Pages, All Pages. And you'll see now all of our pages have the ID listed right here. So if we want to add our communities pages, we know we need to add page ID 841, 248, 252, 250. So you just want to put those IDs, let's go back to our widget here, those IDs with commas between them, 248, 252, 250, and 841. Content type, we don't want to display any of that page content. All we really want is just the title and the image. The image size we want to be 700 by 370. And we want to show 3 communities. Or you can set that to however many number you want to show and save. And when we do that, go to the front of our site, you'll see that we're showing, well, I got it set for 4. Okay. Okay, there we go. See, there's our community pages, and it's showing the featured image for the page, and it links to the page for the communities. Okay, and so that's how you configure those home page widgets. The footer widgets we cover in a separate video. It's on called Widgets, but it covers those footer widgets that we're using at the bottom. So that's how you configure the home page widgets in Prime Location.